right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the Yerrr Sports Show Quick Hit, sponsored by, well, again, we still have no one. We're working on that. Starting in the NFL, Antonio Brown, the big news. Antonio Brown signed a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or should we say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, scheduled to make his season debut in Week 9 due to still serving an 8-game suspension by the NFL due to violations of the personal conduct policy last year. Speaking of last year, if we remember, Antonio Brown, after being traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the, at the time, Oakland Raiders, never played for the Raiders for a variety of reasons, was released before their Week 1 game, immediately signed with the New England Patriots, where in his one and only game with the Patriots last year, 4 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Antonio Brown has had a great relationship with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady petitioned for him to be brought to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so now the Buccaneers with Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, probably the most destructive and offensively minded receiving core in the NFL, not to mention they still have Rob Gronkowski. So this may be Super Bowl or bust for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Speaking of the Raiders are under investigation by the NFL for 4 violations of the COVID-19 policy in place there. Earlier this week, their entire offensive line was placed on the COVID injury list. So we may be seeing the Raiders go into their Week 7 game without their starting offensive line.
Wow.
Last night was Game 3 of the World Series, and the Dodgers won 6-2 to take a 2-1 series lead over the Tampa Bay Rays. Can we talk about the Tampa Rays in the World Series? Tampa Bay Bucks trying to make a Super Bowl run. Big deal here for Tampa Bay, Florida. Walker Buehler, the starting pitcher last night, 6 innings, 10 strikeouts, cementing his legacy as a very good young postseason pitcher. And this kid has a lot of career in front of him. Game 4 is tonight. Dodgers looking to take a 3-1 lead. Rays hoping to tie it up. But in a bit of a bright spot for the Tampa Bay Rays, rookie hitter Randy Arozarena last night took over the lead for most total bases in a playoff series, a record previously held by David Freese of the St. Louis Cardinals. He has 52 so far, and again, we have at least a minimum of 2 more. If the Dodgers win games 4 and 5 and win this World Series 4-1, there's still 2 more games, so Randy has a chance to extend that lead on that most bases in a playoffs. He also, with his hit last night, broke Derek Jeter's rookie record for most hits in a postseason season, I should say. He now has 23. Derek Jeter had 22. Derek Jeter in his rookie season only played 15 games in the postseason, though due to the new structure this year of the MLB playoffs, so far Randy has played in 17 games. He's also tied Barry Bonds, Carlos Beltran, and Nelson Cruz with the most home runs in a postseason with 8. He hit his 8th home run last night. So again, 2 more games minimum. If this only goes to 5 games, he could break that record and be the first rookie to hold that record. He could also break Pablo Sandoval's overall amount of hits in a postseason record. Pablo Sandoval holds that record for 26. And again, Randy is at 23. Moving to the NBA, big coaching hire for the New Orleans Pelicans, hiring Stan Van Gundy, head coach of the 2009 Magic, who went to the NBA Finals. Remember the Dwight Howard, Jameer Nelson, Orlando Magic went all the way to the NBA Finals. Stan Van Gundy's also coached the Miami Heat and also coached the Detroit Pistons. Was most recently the team president and coach of the Pistons, and now
with a really good team.
Yeah, and now the head coach of the Pelicans, a young Pelicans team, and the owner of the Pelicans said that one of the reasons why he wanted to hire Stan Van Gundy was due to his known nature as a teacher in the NBA and the amount of young players that New Orleans has. Just in case anyone doesn't remember, Stan Van Gundy has a 58% winning percentage.
Oh, wow. That's
in
impressive.
The NBA. 58% of his games he's won, and he's also won 48 total playoff games. He actually has won more playoff games than he's lost in the NBA. So really big deal there. Let's see if Zion Williamson can take it to another level with Stan Van Gundy. Another thing coming out of the NBA earlier this week, the NBA Board of Governors surprised everyone with an idea for a 72-game season for the upcoming season that would start on Christmas Day.
Wow, that's quick.
Would start on Christmas Day, would have a play-in tournament for the playoffs, have no All-Star game, no All-Star weekend, but instead would have a 2-week break in the middle of the season for players to just rest.
Okay.
That's corny because most of the teams didn't even make it to the bubble.
Right. I think the play-in tournament or the tournament that they've been speaking about so much the past few years should be for those teams that's at the bottom. Like just a regular tournament, just play for money.
Well, you know what's interesting is the NBA is the one league outside of the big three, not counting the NHL, but the NBA is the one league in the big three that does not have a bye system.
Right.
They do not have a bye system in the first round. The number one teams play in the first round of the playoffs. So maybe what the NBA could probably do is an expanded playoffs, especially when we think about in recent years with the Western Conference in the NFL, how deep that West goes, where sometimes the 9th and 10th team are good enough to be playoff teams.
That's true.
Maybe they can do an expanded playoffs. It keeps a lot more teams in the hunt for the playoffs as the season goes by, which
Makes it
could
more
eliminate
competitive.
some tanking, possibly.
Yeah.
We talk about tanking in the NBA all the time. Give some markets a little bit more enthusiasm and give maybe your first and second seed or the overall best record in each conference a bye in the first round.
Right.
And that way you kind of have a play-in tournament because you're adding an extra team or two, but you're not really adding games for a playoff tournament.
Yeah.
And then again, we always talk about, the 8-1, imagine if a play-in team gets hot and makes a run like a Portland did this year.
Or like the Suns could have did, possibly. They went 8-0 in the bubble.
Right. Or you look at a team that maybe in a 72-game season, a team that gets, hampered by injuries, and then all of a sudden they drop. Maybe they could have been the third team in the West or the third team in the East, and they drop to like 9th or 10th, but they still make it in because of the expanded playoffs. And all of their guys come back healthy now for the playoffs, and they make a run. We talk about a lot of teams sometimes who don't get the runs that they should have because of injuries and all that other stuff. This could change that. 2 other stories coming out of the NBA this week. The NBA draft is on November 18th. The NBA announced it would be a virtual draft, but an even bigger story surrounding the draft. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who hold the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, still do not have a definitive choice for who they're going to pick number 1. They have repeatedly said in statements, they do not yet see a clear-cut number 1 in this draft. And the draft's on November 18th.
That's less than a month away.
Yeah. Last story, rumors are circulating on NBA Twitter that Amari Stoudemire will be joining the coaching staff of the New Jersey Nets. Remember the New Jersey Nets? New Jersey Brooklyn Nets. I apologize. I'm such an old school Nets fan. You can tell. Joining the coaching staff of the Brooklyn Nets, if you remember, Steve Nash was hired as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets earlier this year. So maybe we have a Phoenix redo in Brooklyn.
So hopefully no one on the team punches a fire extinguisher holder and cuts their hands and can't play.
Right. In
game
the
2.
very important playoff games, we would hope that nobody does that.
Yeah. Hint, hint.
I will say true. Silver lining to this, though, I do think if he stays with the Brooklyn Nets, obviously, Jared Allen could really grow from learning from somebody like Amari Stoudemire.
I agree.
Last story out of the NBA. Oh, no, that was the last story out of the NBA. I apologize. The NBA didn't really get too much, but 4 stories out of there. Big fight news, right? Khabib versus Gaethje for the undisputed light heavyweight championship tonight on Fight Island. There will also be a middleweight number 1 contendership bout on that same card. Other news out of the UFC and sad news out of the UFC, actually. Anderson Silva has announced that definitively, regardless of anything, October 31st, the Halloween event for UFC will be his final fight in the UFC. Anderson Silva, one of the longest reigning middleweight champions, was 34-10-1 in his career in the UFC with 23 knockouts. When Anderson Silva was on his game, you did not want to miss a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he's facing my guy, Uriah Hall. That should be a good fight. At one point in time, Uriah Hall was the number 10 fighter.
So who do you guys have tonight? You have Khabib or Gaethje?
I have Khabib.
Yeah, I listen.
Khabib.
Just have to ask.
When I cannot pronounce your last name, that's a problem.
Right.
Okay. I don't. The man. I just call him Khabib. When you have one name as a fighter, and when we talk about this fighting list that you got later on, when you have one name as a fighter, like you deserve to be like just a dangerous person.
Yes.
And last but not least, and a little bit of pro wrestling news, because we will get into SmackDown a little bit later. A little bit of pro wrestling news. The NWA still operating, even in the middle of a pandemic, though not under the NWA banner, operating under, and I don't want to butcher their names. Give me 1 second while I please pull up exactly the name that they are really.
That part is not important. Let get to the part about who won the TV title.
The United Wrestling Network. I apologize. The NWA doing business with the United Wrestling Network. And this past week, we saw an NWA Television Championship match where Zicky Dice put the television title up against the Pope, Elijah Burke. And Elijah Burke wins the championship and becomes the new NWA Television Champion. He is now the third holder of the title since its re-debut in 2019. It was formerly the NWA National Television Championship, which retired in 1985. We obviously know of the WCW Television Championship, which kind of was born out of the spirit of the NWA Television Championship. But the Pope becomes the 7th African-American television champion in NWA company history. Though I would beg, because I didn't do too much looking into this due to being stuck in traffic and things. I'd like to see if that number increases, because I don't remember off the top of my head if there were many African-American television champions in WCW.
Outside of Booker?
Yeah, outside of Booker T.
No.
I don't think so.
No, Booker, and that's about it. Actually, no, it was only Booker.
Yeah, so I mean, so if we count the WCW Television Championship for posterity's sake, the 8th African American man to win the television championship. I do want to say the United Wrestling Network, doing some great things.
He wasn't the only one. There was someone back in the 70s, Rufus Jones, who won it a few times. There was Paul Jones. You
talking about the NWA?
Yeah.
Ernie Ladd.
Yeah, we have a few.
Yeah, but definitely, it was definitely.
But when we transitioned over, so obviously after 1985, when the NWA Championship was retired, and we kind of got the WCW Television Championship, I think Booker T might have been the only one.
Yes.
So congratulations, and here's the thing.
Stevie Ray.
Oh. And Stevie.
I forget about Stevie Ray.
Don't say that out loud. He hit you with a slapjack, bro.
And then growing up, I thought Johnny B. Bad was black. And no, I swear on everything. And I think I could have sworn there was a storyline when he said as an African American male.
Yo,
I could have sworn that. So when I saw Johnny B. Bad, I laughed a little bit because I'm like, I thought he was black.
I mean, he was definitely portrayed.
Oh, definitely. As Little Richard.
Right. I will never get over the fact
he
that
did. It was the hair.
Can I just say though about Little Richard? I hate to have to say this. I went so many years not actually understanding that Little Richard was a real person. I knew that he was a musical person and I knew that he was a musician, but tell me I'm wrong. But he was always presented as like this kind of being that was like, are you sure you're real? Like, he was real, but then it was just like, wait.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
He died this year.
He did.
Oh, man.
Listen, 2020 has been the worst. We know this. I posted on my Instagram story yesterday. I said I wouldn't be surprised if the Ivan Ooze egg comes out later on this month.
Time since we don't have no Power Rangers here. So
right, and we're only in October. We still have two and a half months, people.
Yeah.
Let's realize this year ain't over yet.
No.
And this becomes the most stressful time of the year because we got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Or as I like to call Thanksgiving nowadays, pre-Christmas.
Right.
Because people forget that Thanksgiving. Remember when we were growing up, Thanksgiving was its own holiday.
It was a big thing.
Yeah.
Now people just care about Black Friday.
Right.
Cyber Monday.
Christmas trees are up in November now.
Already?
Yeah.
When I was traveling to Atlanta, JetBlue has Christmas tree, the big ass Christmas tree in the middle of the terminal, which I'm like, okay. And there's a sign that says, oh, we just want to get you started early thinking about Christmas.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Peter, for them quick hits.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.